Lastly, on the legs, we are going to do the lower leg. When you get into this lower leg, not to be sick or anything, but it is going to remind you a little bit of a chicken leg, if you've ever eaten chicken wings. Sorry, I should have my glove a little bit more ready. All right, so what I'm going to do with the lower leg is I'm actually going to separate the three muscles that attach to the Achilles or the calcaneal tendon. This you should be able to easily separate with your finger. You'll be able to stick your finger in. You can actually already kind of see it separating right there. Kind of separate the calf from the rest of the lower leg. Now again, there are three muscles that are all going to attach to that calcaneal or Achilles tendon. They are called the gastrocnemius, which is the biggest calf muscle. It's the most superficial. Underneath the gastrocnemius, you're going to see the soleus. And then you will have the innermost one that connects to that calcaneal Achilles tendon, which is called the plantaris. Now, I actually have mine cut. You can see that Achilles is actually cut so that I have all three of those calf muscles completely separated. You do not have to cut that if you don't want to. I just find that it is a little easier to do so. Now you should be able to kind of wiggle with your fingers to separate that innermost one out first. Again, the innermost one closest to the bones of the lower leg is the plantaris. Okay. Now the soleus and the gastrocnemius are a little bit harder to separate. It is a little easier to separate them on the medial side, but there is a tendon that it sticks to on the lateral side, which makes it a little bit harder to separate. And you should notice that it starts to kind of feather out. It's one of those pennant muscles. Let me try and remove my glove and reverse the camera. Make it a little easier for you to see what I'm talking about here. Okay, so here, there's the lower leg. Okay, there's the medial side. I've separated the calf from the other parts of the lower leg. So here's that innermost plantaris. And now on the inside, you can see the soleus here, surrounded by the outer gastrocnemius. So here you can see the soleus separates very easily from the medial side, but it is starting to kind of feather on the lateral side like that. So if yours looks like that, that's completely normal. There is a tendon that runs there that it does like to stick to. So I'm just going to try to finish removing or separating that soleus muscle from the outer gastrocnemius. So that I have three muscles kind of separated from each other. So now you should be able to see on mine, I've got 1, 2, 3 completely separate muscles. So from the outside, superficial, would be the gastrocnemius. And this is a very large muscle. It has 2 heads to it, 2 sides. So you can see one head here, and then there's a completely another head on the other side. So it's a nice big rounded bowl that will surround the entire calf. Then on the inside of that, you have that soleus, and then you have the plantaris. And those are the three muscles that all connect to that calcaneal Achilles tendon. Then you should have four muscles that are connected to the bones of the lower leg, the tibia and fibula. The easiest one of these to find should be the tibialis anterior. And the reason it's really easy to find is because it's pretty big, but also because all you need to do is find the tibia bone. So I don't know if you can see it on mine, but there should be a nice white bone right here. You can hear it, how hard it is. So tibialis anterior is anterior or in front of the tibia. So tibia here, in front of it, this nice big tibialis anterior here. I'm going to try to remove some of the connective tissue on its surface so you can see the actual pink of the muscle itself. Sorry if it's hard to see. I can't operate the phone and cut at the same time. I need to get a tripod stand. All right, I'm going to take my glove off here, try to reverse the camera angle again. All right, so here you get a better view of the tibia, and then you can see that tibialis just in front of it. And you can see, you can take your finger, kind of put it right inside the tibia there. And really get it separated. So now we're going to come around kind of on the lateral side here. Whoops. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, so here's that tibialis anterior. Now you're going to try to find the lateral edge of that. Again, it helps if you remove as much of the connective tissue as you can. Okay. Hopefully you can see on mine where the separation is. Right here, you can kind of make out a delineation of a new muscle, and that's going to be the edge of the extensor digitorum longus. Now, as you start getting this extensor out, if you remove the connective tissue down towards the ankle, you'll expose the tendon that it connects to, and you'll actually be able to see it. If you go down far enough, you'll actually see it diverge into the different pieces that would go down to each of the digits. So I'm just going to try to go down a little further here and expose that so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so here is that extensor digitorum longus. You can see that nice white tendon here as you get down to the ankle, and then as it goes down into the foot, you should be able to see the different diverges that go down into each of the digits, as it's going to help extend those digits. So here you can see that anterior tibialis and then the extensor digitorum longus. The peroneus longus, so peroneus is another term for fibula. You're just going to continue to work around the leg here. Now the peroneus or fibularis longus is this muscle right here. It should be the one right next to what would have been the plantaris that we pulled back. So that peroneus or fibularis longus would be right underneath that. And if you kind of separate the extensor digitorum longus and that peroneus longus, you should be able to see that little fibula coming out here. I'll tap on it so you can kind of hear that hard bone in between those two muscles. Then the last one on the lower leg is going to be on the medial side. It's going to be on the opposite side of the tibia that the tibialis anterior was on. And that's going to be our flexor digitorum longus muscle. So for this one, you shouldn't really have to dissect much out for this one. You should be able to kind of turn it over and see it. I'm going to try to remove my glove here. If my camera will ever flip. There we go. Okay, so on the medial side here, you can see where that tibialis anterior was, the tibia bone, and then you have the flexor digitorum longus. So again, with the calf, you have that outermost gastrocnemius. Then you would have the soleus underneath that, and then the plantaris. And those are the three that connect to the calcaneal or Achilles tendon. Then for the other lower leg, on the medial side here, you can see the tibia. This would be the tibialis anterior, and then the flexor digitorum longus on the inside. And then on the lateral side, next to the tibialis anterior, you'll see that extensor digitorum longus. And then underneath the plantaris, you should be able to see that peroneus longus. Try and get my probe here. So this one here, that is the extensor digitorum longus. And then the peroneus longus. So you can kind of make out tibialis anterior, extensor digitorum longus, peroneus longus.